Thank you for joining us today at Salaam Gateway. Houssam Chahine, you're the Chief of Private Sector Partnerships for the Middle East and North Africa region for the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees, or the UNHCR. Thank you for joining us today from Dubai.
Thank you, Amy. Thank you very much for having me today. I hope you and your family are well.
Inshallah, they are well. And alhamdulillah, and I hope yours is doing well too, wherever they are in the world.
Alhamdulillah, I'm lucky. I'm one of the people who got stuck with his family. I know a lot of people who are stuck, all over the world. They couldn't travel, but alhamdulillah, we're good. Alhamdulillah.
Alhamdulillah. We're speaking to you today, Houssam, about the report that UNHCR released just this weekend, which is about your zakat fund. And you, same as last year, you released it just before Ramadan, because Ramadan traditionally is when everyone pays zakat. So you're trying to leverage on that. But before we get to Ramadan, tell us a bit about what happened in 2019. You raised $43.16 million last year in total from two big pools. One is institutional sources and philanthropists, and the other is via digital donations. The bulk of it is via institutions and philanthropists, and only about 3.51 million came from digital donations. I guess the big question is, for anyone who's read the report, is that about 80% of the total that you raised last year came from one foundation. 35.215 million came from the Atani Humanitarian Foundation. And so the question we asked this year is that concentration risk is one. And two, with this crisis of this COVID-19 pandemic, what are UNHCR's plans for your zakat fund this year? What's the goal to reach? How are you going to get there?
No, thank you very much, Amy, again for having me. And it's a great opportunity to talk a little bit about our humble yet very, we are ambitious in a way. We started in 2016, and our zakat fund for refugee program, or the Islamic philanthropy, but obviously most of the effort went into zakat because obviously there's a need there in the public and within institutions as well to channel zakat fund in the right place, right? And we worked a lot on this. So we started working in 2012. I remember I was digging out into my presentations, and we said in 2012 we really want to have endorsement for UNHCR to be a channel for zakat to go to beneficiaries, the right beneficiaries though. So we launched the zakat fund in 2016. So obviously it took us a few years of work, including research and outreach, etc. And then in 2016, we started really officially doing what we're doing, with a lot of testing before, even online. You mentioned digital. So we did a lot of online testing before. From 2016 to 2018, we raised $14.4 million through 2 years, right? You see the numbers today, we're talking about $43.16 million, and most of it is coming from one donor. So actually, if I go back, the plan was really to go gradual, but we did a lot of media work anyway, or a lot of outreach to those who would like to get engaged with our Islamic philanthropy and zakat refugee fund. And I have to say, we did a lot of work. We worked hard, but we were lucky as well to meet an institution like Sheikh Athani Foundation. And I think it was a couple of years of trust building and work together, and we get to this point where we were trusted in this big amount of money through UNHCR to distribute zakat to few beneficiaries in some countries. So when we go back to our digital program that you've mentioned, so the 3.5 million for us, it's not a little amount of money, because anyway, we didn't mean to go exponential growth for the zakat fund, but we wanted to build it step by step, because it takes a lot of work for organization as ours, a big organization, to make sure we are zakat compliant. We meet, the reporting needs. We meet on the ground, working with the fields where you have refugees and displaced people, work with colleagues on the ground to make sure the program itself meets the restrictions, laws and regulations and policies of zakat. So we're very happy to have our zakat.unhcr.org platform gathering this amount of money. And we're so proud with the relationship like we have with the Sheikh Al-Thani Foundation. And we will continue actually to leverage on both channels, right? Of course, we have other donations coming from here and there. We intentionally, as you said, we launched the Islamic philanthropy report just now before Ramadan, because we would like to as well reach out to people who would like to find a trusted and a place where they can trust their money or their zakat or sadaqah can go in the right place. So now we're planning actually to actually, hopefully, what we will get is, we don't know how much we will get in Ramadan, but it's the month of giving, and maybe we can meet again after Ramadan. I can report back to you. And the needs are so big actually this year, especially with the COVID-19 situation, something we didn't see as the whole world coming. And when you have the most vulnerable people in situation where they are already outside their homes, they are already in more developing countries and poor countries, hosted by communities who are so generous and giving from their own economy in a way. At the same time, of course, refugees add to the economy, but it's so hard. The situation is so hard. Health systems are already pressured in these countries, even in developed countries. So what we're trying to say is today, the COVID-19 situation as well is an emergency within the emergency. And we want to make sure that refugees are served, whether through zakat donations or, of course, other donations, to make sure we meet this public health situation all over the world.
So are you saying that you don't have a target for this year?
We do have the target for this year, but unfortunately now moving target. For us this year, we want to reach 482 million. Actually, this is the potential where if we reach, this is where you have our programs in 8 countries, actually, where UNHCR is serving refugees and displaced people. This is where the zakat program can reach out because of the specificity of zakat. So you have 8 countries. In these 8 countries, you have, of course, more than $2 billion needs in these 8 countries. But the zakat portion out of it in the program that can meet zakat policy and recommendations to make sure that we are meeting that policy is over 480 million US dollars, and this is what we're aiming to have. Hopefully, it's very ambitious. That's why I'm not talking about it a lot. But this is where mentioning the COVID-19, mentioning the current situation. This is what we hope the generosity of Muslims around the world and even the humanity around the world to reach out to.
So how are you going to get there then? Because, like we said, there's a concentration of donors. For one, you have that one donor that gave 80% of last year's total. And then most of your donors also come from the Middle East. You yourself are based in the Middle East. So the focus seems to be on the Middle East. But 60% of your digital donations came from just 2 countries, UAE and Saudi Arabia. So are you thinking this year that you will still focus on the Middle East? Or do you see it being beneficial to open up your focus and also look to other countries? For example, the countries that give a lot in zakat and sadaqah, Muslim minority countries in Europe or in the United States, for example. What's the strategy this year to reach $482 million?
So I'll be very transparent with you, actually. In the last year, 2019, we started our global approach to make sure that the example we build in the main Middle East and North Africa region, we want to grow it, right? So when it comes to the zakat program, to the sadaqah program, and the rest of our outreach in Ramadan specifically, we wanted to convince the organization humbly that this is something we want to grow. And our leadership actually took the lead in this program and said we want to make this happen. Our HC, our colleagues in all around the world showed interest to make sure that our Islamic philanthropy program has the arms and legs in a way to make sure that it's growing. So what we did, we started from the MENA region, and we showed nothing can work. We showed that we can be compliant as an organization without jeopardizing our reporting. We want to make sure that colleagues in the field, they don't have much more work to do. So we try to simplify it as much as possible. At the same time, meet the reporting and transparency mechanism is needed for zakat. So we proved all of that, and we said, let's take it to another level. We want to go more global last year. Last year was more humble. So we started working with colleagues in Asia, in the Americas, in Europe. And this year, without very significant amount of money that is coming from these parts of the world, but they started coming. This year and this Ramadan, we have interest from more than 17 countries where UNHCR is operating and raising funds from. And you will see as you go in Ramadan that even countries from where you are now in Asia and the Americas, Europe, etc., and even in Africa, they are pushing our zakat program. They are pushing our Islamic philanthropy program. They are sending the message about, being together and thinking of each other as a humanity, and taking this cultural, religious occasion of Ramadan, the month of giving, to amplify this message and asking people to donate. So our strategy really, go global, make sure you reach out, as you said, even to minority Muslim countries and to countries where we can have partnerships. It doesn't have to be a blanket fundraising approach where when you go public and try to raise funds, but in some countries we will work with partners as we do with the Sheikh Al-Thani Foundation and make sure that we don't have to raise the money ourselves, but we would like to channel some of the $1 trillion zakat industry, if we agree on this number and terminology when it comes to the money factor, to go to benefit refugees who are eligible for zakat money and making them through this. We're just the channel for that. So go global, make sure in the global context we are localizing, depends on each country and on each market that we work in.
So is the strategy going to continue to be a focus on the institutions and philanthropists as opposed to from digital donations from individuals?
It's going to be both. So in countries where we don't have strong partnerships yet, and we feel the public is a recipient for a call to action digitally or go one-to-one in different through different channels, we will do that. In countries where we have strong partnerships with local NGOs or local foundations or communities, we will not do the fundraising ourselves, but we'll go through these partnerships. So so we will localize as we go, and we're still in the building block, I have to say, when we talk about a global plan, but we are getting there, inshallah. You will see this Ramadan, and I hope I can report back on some success after Ramadan, inshallah.
Inshallah. You obviously, we're already in April, and we're coming to the end of April, so you already have an idea of the kind of money that will be coming in for the year. We've been in this crisis for at least 3 months, so you do kind of understand what kind of zakat the institutions can give and want to give you as opposed to other charities. and then the appetite from digital donations from individuals. From what you've been seeing on the ground, are we looking at a number that's bigger than last year?
Yes.
Hopefully.
Yes.
Yes,
Definitely.
for sure. For sure, it's going to be bigger than 43 million.
Yes, but again, as you know, people calculate their zakat, and because we're talking about individuals as well, right? And people calculate their zakat in the very changing economical scene now, as we see. You know, the last 2 days was crazy. I mean, when you talk about a lot of wealth is changing, right? But it doesn't mean giving will be less, because I think we agree that in challenging time, people give more actually in a way or another. They find way to be philanthropic, they find way to give more. And this is what we've been seeing on our online platforms. Saying that, we cannot calculate currently how much we're going to get. This is the need. I mentioned the need is $482 million. And what we would like to see, we hope to see the whole amount is coming. Whether through a zakat program or otherwise, but the zakat program can take all of this. We see the generosity of the Gulf countries, especially as well UAE and Saudi Arabia, from individuals who are donating online. And we hope that we are doing good job to gain more trust of more audience in these countries, but as well in the States, in Australia, in Asia, and in other places where more people and more and jumping in and contributing part of their sadaqah and zakat to refugees and the state, and that will change everything for us. Again, I think we're remapping how we do fundraising. I'm sure philanthropists are remapping how they do philanthropy. So it's a very exciting time, sad time, but very exciting, that we hope we meet somewhere where the emergency is finished, but at the same time we meet the health needs. What we forget sometimes as well is that there's a huge education need for children refugees now, because where they were supposed to go to school in some countries, now they cannot go out. And part of the call to action, we're saying we want to partner with platforms, with donors, where we can provide online e-learning to refugees. And that's so important. It's definitely it's about giving, but as well it's about partnerships. So any platform of that will help refugees all around the world to not to lose a year of education. You know, our kids are lucky because, you know, we're happy to have them in schools, and now they're e-learning, but I think refugees are missing this, children refugees are missing this opportunities. So that's
how
something.
How many are we looking at this year? How many refugees are you targeting for zakat this year as compared to last year?
So we hope that this year will be more than a million, so 1,200,000 minimum compared to last year. Again, we exceeded our target last year, and we hope that this year will grow by 200,000 beneficiaries.
So last year was 1 million, and the target for this year is 1.2 million.
Yes. Yes,
okay.
I hope to exceed that. I hope we will exceed that, and we're working toward this. If I may say something about our campaign this Ramadan, because the Islamic Philanthropy Report just came at the same time where we're launching our campaign, and it's about imagine how the world will look like. And when we did the video of that campaign, we didn't know that there is COVID-19 situation happening, and we started the video goes, imagine there's a city without people, imagine there's a mosque without prayers, imagine prayers, imagines without iftar, without food, and all of that. And unfortunately, you and I live in this situation now. It's not only the refugee. And that goes hand in hand with the situation, but it's more and more for refugees. COVID-19 doesn't discriminate, and UNHCR is now unfortunately, week by week, adding the budget for our beneficiaries, because you need to do isolation places for if there's a breakout in the refugee situation, that we have something ready. We need to support governments, sometimes even financially, for refugees to be included in the COVID-19 response plans or national plans. As well, we are working with the governments and our partners to make sure that awareness is reaching out to refugees and the hosting communities. That's why I'm being hesitant maybe about the target, because the target is moving, is growing, and we are in a very challenging time.
Part of what you're saying just now is that it's a matter of trust. For example, the 35 million you got from the Athani Humanitarian Foundation, it's about building trust so that people give you that money and they know that it's being put to good use and in the right way. Because like you said, zakat has a lot of conditions in terms of the snaf, in terms of the distribution. How can people trust you? Going through the report, I didn't quite get how these numbers are audited and how the money is properly distributed. Maybe you can speak to that so that we can sort of understand and build that trust as well.
No, perfect. From the beginning, we had a partnership with one of the foundation who actually worked with us on the know-how and the transparency part. And this is what led us to have 5 fatwas or authorization to collect zakat, not to collect, but to distribute the zakat, to be a channel for zakat, right? So we are the bridge between people who are giving their zakat and the beneficiaries. So to get to that point where very reputable and trusted authorities in the Islamic world to give UNHCR the yes, the fatwa to go and run with this refugee zakat fund was not very easy, I have to say. And to do that, we had to be very transparent. So we made sure that, first of all, everything starts from the bottom. So all our field operations meet the requirement when it comes to zakat programs and zakat distribution and the zakat reporting, right? So we started there. Naturally, as UNHCR, we have auditors, even external auditors, that they watch and report back on our books. We report back actually to governments at the end of this year, and we ask our budget. Usually, we will present our impact and budget to governments as well. So there's a lot of scrutiny anyways happening there. What we added is another layer in a way of reporting transparency through Taba Foundation. So they go to the ground, they check every year, they make sure that the program is meeting the policies and the recommendation of zakat. And this is what we're doing. What we do is we do report every 3 months, even to individuals. So Amy, if you give your zakat, for example, we may even online, and it's $5 or €5, and then we make sure that we report to you or where the bulk of the money is going, where the impact, how much money we are spending, and where. The other thing is that we made sure that 100% of all zakat money is going to beneficiaries. So internally, we worked very hard with colleagues in headquarters and in the field to make sure that all the zakat money is going to beneficiaries, nothing is going to overhead, and that's a plus for UNHCR. So there's nothing of, that usually we take 6.5% overhead, which doesn't exist in the refugee zakat fund. And the third thing is we do our annual detailed reporting as well, and we make sure that to develop this more and more. The first program we did on zakat distribution was cash assistance, and this is still the main channel that we're doing because of you can easily make sure within the books that how much money you have, how much you distributed, and it's all automized, right? And we make sure through our systems on the ground that refugees receive each family beneficiary and eligible for zakat receive one time, and through iris scan programs, very technological advanced ways of cash assistance, and even when there is a program that is in kind, we make sure that all of this is covered, but cash assistance is still our main program to that.
So just as a last question, we'll have a look at your coming Ramadan campaign, and inshallah you'll reach, you'll get a lot this year, and especially this year because there's a greater need for it. In your impact report as well, there's mention about Awqaf and Waqf. For now, I don't see any plans for the UNHCR to embark on any Awqaf or Waqf initiatives. But it's in your impact report, and I wonder why it's there. Have you started working on something already?
Yes, that's the intention, meaning what we're trying to say is we're putting in there to open as well the door for these kind of questions, I have to say, and to open the door for this, to partnerships where maybe we don't have the complete necessarily know-how to do that for UNHCR, as well as we did for zakat. It's all about partnerships. So we're saying we're interested in endowment through waqf, and we know it's big. We're not the experts in this, so we want to have a partnership that will lead us to the first endowment for refugees as well. And this is what we're doing. We started, of course, there are a couple of projects in the cooking, but I don't want, it's the premature to talk about them now, but that's the call as well. If anybody would like to give advice, discuss something, we're happy to do that anytime on Waqf or any other mechanism to support refugees and those who are in need.
Okay, remind us again, how can individuals donate? Is the website still the same from last year? And how
Yes.
can institutions contact you?
So easily they can go to zakat.unhcr.org, zakat.unhcr.org, and they can find even the report in there. There's a special place where all the reports we had since last year and this year, they can look at the fatwas. They can, there's a blog about our zakat refugee fund, and they can donate as well and see all the options, whether they would like to earmark or let us decide which operation is more in need now. So that's the easiest way to do it. And we have as well a bank account that is zakat compliant. So if they would like to transfer money, whether they want to pay online or transfer money as well, that's an option to do that. Okay. And there's, of course, our email is there, and they can reach out to us through that.
Thank you very much, Houssam. And well, I hope you reach 482 million this year.
Thank you very much, Amy. Thank you for your time, and I wish you Ramadan Mubarak, inshallah, and stay safe, and hope things will be better soon.
Inshallah. Thank you, Houssam.
Thank you.